So for Jadu Central, we're currently working on Jadu Central 3.1. We just released Jadu Central 3.0 earlier in the year. That was our major update, in which we took out the old form builder, the classic form builder. So going forward, we are concentrating our features on our modern form builder. I think that's been the case for quite some time, but just a heads up as you go through that release. We have in Jadu Central 3.1 our a major update to event bookings, and we're working on some canonical URL tools. 3.2 and 3.3 should be around this year, with 3.4 probably slipping into next year, just for context. As we quickly mentioned for Jadu Connect, due to the way that this application is released, it's slightly different to Jadu Central. So all of these features will be rolled out to customers as soon as they become available, as it's a SaaS application. The team are currently working on SAML single sign-on, and we then have a following authentication piece of work around multi-factor authentication. So jumping quickly into the recently released items, we have made a major update to our image management tools. We're currently looking for customers to give this quick beta test and feedback on this functionality. So this is available if you choose to opt in as a beta tester. It's available now. So at present in our application, we have a multimedia management area, and this is a replacement for that. In terms of new tooling, it's very much image-led. We have options around sorting images so that you can quickly find the oldest image on your installation, the largest or the smallest image on your installation. We have got inline tools now for being able to search for where particular images are being used. And we have an edit image option available from that list. If we go over here, so this appears when you go in to the image manager, click on that image, and you have inline tools to be able to quickly crop and rotate images that appear in the image library, along with being able to edit their details. One of the big features in this is being able to change images with an alternative version in line. So any usage of that image on your application will change instantly. And rather than at the moment, you'd have to delete the image that you didn't want to use anymore and then manually update everywhere throughout the application where that particular image was being used. So in terms of the pain points that we're trying to address with this new set of tools for images, we want to be able to replace an image with an alternative. We want to be able to identify where a particular image has been used in content. We want to be able to identify and remove large images or really old images. And we want to be able to remove images completely. At the moment, we have quite a soft delete option. So you can delete an image in the application, and that will prevent that image from being available for reuse within the application. So people won't be able to find it, but the image will still exist on the server. There are tools to go out and remove those permanently. But at the moment, it's a two-step process. And going forward, that's going to be a one-step process. So when you delete an image from Jadu Central, that image will then be removed permanently. We're also going to be updating the availability of image management tools. So previously, these were only available in your Jadu Central main site. They weren't available to Galaxy's users. From now on, if you're a Galaxy's user, you'll be able to access these tools too. We've also done some work on dark mode. So this at the moment is an experimental feature. It's likely to go through its final release and be part of the application, Jadu Central 4, but to give people a easier way of accessing this, there's a slightly alternative version so that you can try this from that, as of now. So really we're doing this from an accessibility point of view, being able to offer an alternative colour scheme. And it does have some tangible green benefits as well in terms of using less energy than a traditional white background. It does reduce eye strain, it cuts glare, which is all great things if you're spending a lot of time in front of your screen. It's beautifully rendered, as all Paul Stanton's work is in our application. But it is at this point in an experimental thing, so we'd appreciate any feedback if you choose to use it. In terms of how we use it, at the moment it's only available for Chrome users. So you can go to Chrome, and via the Chrome Web Store, we have a Jadu Labs extension where you can go in, add this to Chrome, and then in there you've got a bunch of additional features. One of them is dark mode, which I've just covered, but we've also got being able to use the Open Dyslexia font as well, which in some cases may be useful. It's very readable and helpful if you're reading long blocks of text on the web, regardless of your abilities. Moving onwards.
So
we have also put out a dataset integration option. This is again for Jadu Central. It is a premium edition, but this gives you the option of a really easy way to integrate systems with Jadu Central, assuming that you can get a quick export of data values that need to be selected from. So you take your information from your third-party system, export it as a CSV, and then you can import that into Jadu Central, and there's an associated form component that lets your end users select from a quick select box. So it's the sort of select box where you start typing and it'll filter those options so that you can select something from a long list. That's a super easy way to integrate these two applications where perhaps there is no RESTful or SOAP API available for that application, and what you need is just a quick controlled list to be able to sync between these two products. At the moment, if you want to change the slug of a category once it's been created, you typically have to contact support to get them to do that for you, but we're putting that within the user interface so that you can manage that going forwards from your own control center. It will not be automatic in the same way that document title changes don't automatically update the slug. It will be a manual process still if you change the title of the category to go in and update the slug as well. We're doing that simply to try and prevent unexpected breakages of URLs because they do not redirect once you change them. We've also updated all of our frozen templates to include canonical URL metadata. So if you have friendly URLs pointing to a page, we're now indicating to search engines that these pages are the same page, accessed through different URLs rather than duplicated content on your website. This will be hopefully available in Jadu Central 3.1, so that'll be alongside the event booking work, which I'm about to show. In line with this SEO feature, we do also have the ability to control robot meta tags as well for any content type which currently has metadata controls. So there's going to be two different controls which will appear in their own little toggle in the metadata box. By default, these will be disabled, so it will continue with the standard follow and index for any page where this is not already set. If you do set it, you've got the option to either set no follow, which will disallow search engines from crawling links on that page, or you could set no index, which indicates to the search engine not to kind of like index that page, even though it can access it, it won't add it to its search. And you can set both of those together as well. It's any combination that you'd like to add. Again, this is in progress, due to be released in Jadu Central 3.1. And this is a really big piece of work that we're working on at the moment, which is a big update to the event bookings functionality. So at the moment, our event bookings functionality really caters for appointment-based event booking. So you can set a number of slots in a day and allow people to select one. Our updated bookings are much more flexible, and they are also recurring. So this is really suitable where you have use cases such as pitch bookings or room hire, where you've got an asset which is available for a given time during the day, and customers and public users will come to your website in order to select the amount of time that they would like to use this facility for, add it to their basket, and then pay you some value for the use of that facility. We have, in addition to kind of like the basic calendar management, we've added in pricing rules. So pricing rules can be set based on the time of the day of the week, and the month of the year, so that you can attach different pricing, on-peak, off-peak pricing to your facilities, and that will automatically be calculated as the cost of that room hire, of that event booking, when the customer goes through and completes the form, so that you can take payment at the end of the form. We have slightly tweaked this as well. If you are using our current event bookings, you may be aware of some limitations around how we use our Microsoft Office 365 API. Due to the way that we have implemented this updated version of event bookings, those limitations won't apply to this feature. They're primarily kind of like how far in the future you can offer bookings, and also around kind of like the effect that sometimes blocking out areas of your booking will have on how far in the future you can look. We've hopefully removed those, and so this will not be subject to those same limitations and should be better able to meet your use cases. Moving on. So this is for Jadu Connect. Jadu Central already features SAML integration. But Jadu Connect is currently, the team are currently implementing this integration. So this is particularly useful if you're using tools like OneLogin or Shibboleth, or I think the one that would be most prevalent would be Microsoft Azure AD. I think there's a whole family of probably related Microsoft authentication, which uses the SAML protocol. So this would be being able to log in, single sign-on with your organization identity into Jadu Connect, rather than having to create a separate username and password. Initially, this will be for staff users only. So that's our first phase. We'll be rolling that out and taking further feedback on how widely that's used, and how you would like us to be releasing further updates around that in the future. What's coming next? Exciting future. So imminently, the Jadu Central team will be starting work on smart mapping. So you might have seen this demoed at a previous academy, Jadu Academy. This is really useful if you're using both Jadu Connect and the Jadu Central product. It allows you to kind of make a mapping between, a link between a case type and a form in Jadu Central, so that when you map, you can select items, like the application will present you with options that it's pulled out of Jadu Connect into Jadu Central, so that you don't need to go back and copy paste identifiers between the two different applications. It also makes a lasting link. So if you make changes then in Jadu Connect to your case type, the Jadu Central form will pull those in. You won't need to go in and manually update it, so that you don't have a situation where if you change your case type in Jadu Connect, you could inadvertently break your associated form in Jadu Central. So that's going to be really cool. That's coming shortly, along with some other changes around the variable picker in Jadu Central Forms. We also have a massive update coming to our content review and schedule tools. So I think if you're involved in publishing on Jadu Central at the moment, you will have encountered the content schedule. We recommend that for use for content review as well, but it is quite limited at the moment in what it can offer. And so we are planning to update these. There'll also be an update in terms of the UI. So you might notice in the screenshot, we have a sidebar that's starting to appear next to our forms. This is to help people when they're going through content reviews as part of workflow, to try and bring more of the information about content out of multiple kind of like small screens that you have to click through and into a single view. so that while you are reviewing your content, you can see everything at a glance. You can see what categories there are. You can quickly see the metadata. You can see when it was modified, and a summary of all the information that could be pertinent to you at the point where you go through and start deciding whether or not this piece of content is meeting your editorial guide. So this is the sidebar area with the quick summary. So we'll have things like the publishing history that can quickly be accessed from the sidebar. And we've got this new area of content review, so you can see quickly when it was last reviewed and manage the review schedule. We go on again. We're still at wireframe stage with this one. I haven't got an updated preview, but within our content review, what we want to be able to offer is the ability to choose people from Jadu Central, so administrators that you've already set up, to get notified about a content review, but also people outside of Jadu Central. So we recognise that there's a lot of people who need to be able to look at content and say whether or not this needs updating, needs changing in service areas, or even in external related organisations. So you can provide these guys by their email address, make a note on that content that these people need to be able to review this content on our review schedule to check for any updates. This doesn't give them access to Jadu Central, but it brings them into the review process. So the other area where we are updating is around the content, the scheduled publishing items as well. So I think the biggest change here, kind of like related to our feature request from customers, is adding in a time field, as well as currently there's a date field, which means that all our scheduled content actions take place very early in the morning of the day that's noted in the content schedule, but that doesn't really meet the needs now. When we So when people have embargoed content, it's not likely to be 12 midnight, it's more likely to be kind of 5 p.m. We recognise that a lot of the time at the moment that requires somebody, on your team to be going in potentially out of hours at the weekend to go make live content live. So we're adding tools to make that more flexible and be able to put that in at a particular time as well as a particular day. And then in terms of content review, one of the big parts that we've put in is the idea that all content needs to be reviewed. So there's a baseline review cadence that's set in the application, but there's also content that's probably going to need to be reviewed more than that. So you can override that on particular items of content to add in specific review schedules for a given item. I can't think of one at the moment that would for that, but certainly kind of thinking back to COVID-19, there was items of content that would be changing, extremely frequently, that would need constant review. And this just gives you that option if, we encounter circumstances similar, where you can set that up and get those reminders without having to, put something in your calendar or manually, just rely on your memory. So in terms of pain points addressed, we're really looking at the user interface. We're trying to improve the visibility of the hidden data about a piece of content, make it easier and quicker to review that during our publishing schedule on our workflow process. We're going to separate out the content review and scheduling actions because at the moment those sit within metadata. We are going to take those out. We're going to make them standalone tools. So that we can effectively manage those within content. We're going to be giving people the option to include reviewers who don't have a Jadu Central account, so that we can send them a email that you can control the copy of from the application automatically, give them a link where they can approve or reject, and to look at that piece of content and send their notes back. We're going to be providing a suite of reports as well, so that you can keep track of this. We do provide some reports at the moment, but I think the places where we'll be adding to this are around what pieces of content have using the baseline reports versus the baseline schedule versus what's got something overridden, and kind of like who are these emails, what people are we pulling in on these pieces of content, and what piece of content are they reviewing. We want to be able to provide granular control of the publishing schedule as well. It won't be down to the minute, but it will be kind of like hour and 15-minute block. And that's just down to like technically we would find it difficult to have something running constantly, sending you one minute by minute, but it's definitely an improvement on our current content scheduling. And we're also going to be looking at this default review schedule, be moving towards this idea that all pieces of content need to be reviewed frequently within that life cycle according to your own content governance guidelines. And the software should make this much easier to manage. So within Connect as well, so this is a multi-factor authentication, two-factor authentication, as you might have come across it. It's pretty prevalent. It is available in Jadu Central if you're using our native authentication or via your authentication provider. If you're not using that, and we are bringing that as well into Jadu Connect. So at the moment, that's not currently supported, but we are going to be moving to something very similar to what we've got in Jadu Central. So if you're familiar with that system, it's going to be in parallel. It's going to be using the Authenticator app, SMS, and email. At the moment, I think we have as well role permissions, which are going to dictate if multi-factor authentication is required or optional for the account. So you may require all of your staff, for instance, to have multi-factor authentication enabled, but probably not your citizen users. This is going to be, I think, more prevalent going forward. I would expect more people are going to be opting into this. It definitely feels like there has been a big sea change in the expectations around multi-factor authentication. It certainly feels at this point, the level of data that could be accessed through Connect, it makes sense for people to be enabling this, I think, if they're members of staff, for sure. So those tools will be coming soon to Jadu Connect. We also have, my screen captures up. There we go. Data retention user interfaces coming into Connect as well. So if you're using Jadu Central Forms, you'll be familiar with the data retention tools that are available in that application. These are really around giving you the control to redact data from cases. At the moment, that can only be achieved by the Service API, which is very technical, and we're going to bring that in to the Jadu Connect application with a non-technical user interface, very similar to Jadu Central, so that you can manage those within the application and take data out. It's just going to expand the type of data that can be redacted. At the moment, it's just case data, but it's also going to include person and user data going forwards. And another Jadu Connect feature we have coming soon are scheduled reports. So if you're using reports in Jadu Connect at the moment, these have to be run manually. And what we wanted to add are options for these to be automatically run. So you set something up, exports the data, and it emails that to you at intervals which can be defined in Connect and non-technically. Okay. One thing to note, we previously announced that we're going to be updating the document editor. That is still going to be going forwards, but we have had to jiggle things around a little bit. We ran into a few difficulties, and so this was planned for Jadu Central 3.2, but it's now going to be coming later in the year. It does give us some exciting opportunities to look around AI and the tools that we can put into our document editor, just to keep you updated. If you had seen earlier versions of our roadmap, you might notice that this has at the moment disappeared. It's only temporarily while we update our plans, and then it will be coming back in a later release. Oh dear, I'm not having a good time with my slides today. Just a quick update on integrations. So we've been working busily on these. There are 3 kind of like back office system integrations, which are either new or they've been updated. That's around Simology Insight, Docs Uniform, Veolia Echo. Some of these are just for Jadu Central, some involve Jadu Connect. If you're interested in these, please get in touch so that we can talk through those options. And we have a bundle of new payment adapters as well. So we now support Vodafone Storm, HeyCentric, and the updated Adelante. I'm not sure if this is the name of the product, but our integration is Adelante Smart Pay 6. So those new payment adapters are available now. We do also, a quick update in terms of, we do have a payment adapter for Sage Pay. Some customers may be using that. We're aware that they have recently been rebranded, so you may come across Opeo. So we have an Opeo adapter available if you want it, and that is the previously referred to Sage Pay adapter. And apologies, that is everything. So I forgot to mention this at the start. Bob all your questions in chat. Our plan is to pick these up on email. So if there's anything else that's come up, please send it over. My email address is on screen. Super simple, sarah@jadu.net or sarah@jadu.co.uk. If you send those through, either through the chat in this webinar or via email, we'll get back to you outside of that. Other than that, that's the end of this session. We will be hosting these going forwards, so there'll be a regular update on what's coming. There are some items that are planned for Jadu Connect, which I've not gone through in this one, but will be mentioned in future items as well. There's some really exciting stuff happening at Jadu, which we'd love to show. We're just not quite there with some of it yet. So come round to the next one. There'll be even more items for us to show you. And yes, if you are interested, the Google Chrome extension that I showed earlier is available today, as is Jadu Central free. If you've not upgraded yet, we recommend it. It's looking great. It's a great application. And with that, we'll call it a day there. Thank you, everybody, for your time. I hope that's been interesting and given you some exciting items to look forward to. I'll look through the questions today and get back to you later. Thanks, everybody.